Hello everyone, welcome to our video today where we will be talking about Psych Chapter 8, group behaviors, social attitudes, and social processes. So again, lots of definitions, but we're used to this. It's like we're going to learn these definitions so we can apply them and recognize these definitions and these concepts so we can recognize them in different passages and know, what part of all the psych-soc that they're trying to tap into for that specific passage or question. So let's get started. All right, so first we have socialization. You know what, is this better? Am I too low? Yeah, okay, that's okay. All right, so first we have socialization, which is the process of developing, inheriting, spreading norms, customs, and beliefs. A lot of these, some of them you probably know, some of them might be self-explanatory, but we're of course going to go over them anyways. Then we have taboos, which are considered unacceptable by almost every culture. Stigma. A stigma is having an extreme disapproval for a group or a person based on a perceived difference. We have deviance, which is the violation of norms, rules, or expectations in a society. We have differential association theory, which just states that deviance is learned through interactions. We have conformity. Conformity are changing beliefs and behaviors based on the request of others, so you're conforming to something that someone else has said. We have compliance, when an individual changes behavior based on the request of others. So conformity is changing the beliefs more so. Let me take that back. Conformity is changing the beliefs or behavior based on the request of others. But compliance is when an individual changes their behavior based on the request of others. And those do sound very similar. So just pause the video for 1 second. I'm just going to check my notes and make sure that is correct. Okay, so we have conformity is changing the beliefs or behaviors in order to fit into a group or a society. And then we have compliance, which occurs when individuals change their behavior based on the request of others. Okay, so there is definitely a difference there. I know I might have wrote it, I didn't necessarily write it out properly, so I'll just say that again. Conformity is changing your beliefs or behaviors in order to fit into a group, so that you are making that decision to conform. Okay, and then compliance is when you're making a change to your behavior based on the request of others. So I'm glad we got to clear that up. Okay, let's keep going. So we have obedience, which is a change in behavior based on the command from someone who's seen as an authority. So that's the difference between compliance and obedience. So compliance is just based on the request of others, where obedience is changing the behavior based on the command from someone who we see as an authority figure. Sanctions are rewards or punishments for behavior, and they could be formal or informal. And so formal, is more so like law or something, but informal is just, in society, things that we create or make, that we follow informally. Norms, I know we've mentioned that before, but just to reiterate, norms are determined boundaries of what are acceptable or not acceptable behaviors in society. And mores are informal norms governed by morality. So mores, morality, that one's easy to remember. We have folkways, which are informal norms that are a little less important, but they still shape our behavior. For example, just an example, someone holding the door for someone, right? If someone coming after you hold the door, that would be considered folkway because it does shape our behavior. but it's just, it is on a smaller kind of scale interaction. Then we have functional attitude theory, which states that there's 4 functional areas of attitude: knowledge, ego expression, adaptability, and ego defense. And with that, we need to know what the definition of attitude is. So attitude is the expression, positive or negative, of feelings towards someone or something. So it's just positive or negative feelings that you have towards someone or something or a group. That's an attitude. Learning theory states that attitudes are developed through learning, right? There's different types of learning. You can, observe, contact, anything like that. So just different types of learning. But that is learning theory states that attitudes are developed. They're learned based on what we have around us. Then we have elaborative likelihood model, which can either be central or peripheral processing. And so the elaborative likelihood model separates individuals on a continuum based on how they process persuasive information. So if they think deeply and critically, this would be central processing. But if they're focused on the details or how someone looks or something like that, that is peripheral processing. So that is the elaborative likelihood model. We have social cognitive theory that states that attitudes are formed through watching others, and that people change their behavior and attitudes based on observation. And we know that we're watched by others as well. Okay, so now we're going to come over to this side. A little bit less on this side. The pink is more so group behaviors. Excuse me. So we have social facilitation, which kind of has 2 sides to it. So for one, people who are skilled in a specific task, when they're performing this task, they perform better when people are around, if they're skilled in that task. However, if someone is unskilled and there's people around, they're more likely to perform worse if it's not something they're comfortable with and it's not something they're very skilled at. So that is social facilitation. It's just the people, it depends on, people watching you and how comfortable or skilled you are with that specific task, performance, etc. So de-individuation is a loss of self-awareness in a group. So de-individuation, that one's kind of, you can pick that up once you know the definition. The bystander effect states that in a group, people are less likely to respond to a need due to the diffusion of responsibility. There's a bunch of cases like this. I know, someone, I know that one of the cases that I definitely see a lot of the time is, someone's being bullied on the street, and, there's so many people walking by, and everyone thinks someone else is going to call for help, or someone else is going to go help them, so they themselves don't actually go help. So bystander effect is definitely something that even as a society we need to watch out for. Just the definition of that one again is, in a group, people are less likely to respond or act on based on a need. We have peer pressure, which is the social influence from people who we consider equal. Social loafing is when an individual does less work or puts towards less effort in a group as they would if they were working on their own. Group polarization is making a decision in a group that is more extreme than the individual would make on their own. That's group polarization. Then we have group think, which is making a decision based only on information that arises in the group without any outside ideas. Group think. Then we have culture, which I know we've talked about many times. Culture is the belief, ideas, characteristics of a group or society. Assimilation is when an immigrant takes up elements of mainstream culture. Multiculturalism is the encouraging multiple cultures in a group. And finally, subcultures are groups that distinguish themselves from the primary culture. So again, for me, once I saw some of these definitions, I was able to connect it with the word, like it made sense. I just really needed to, have somewhere where I could look to see, what does this mean? Okay, now I know what it means. Now I can remember and really understand. So I know there's a lot of definitions as always, but hopefully it helps you go over some of the content. And if you have any questions, put them below. If If not, we will see you in the next video.